Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thanks for coming out this evening. Sorry about the change in time, but I had the Corps of Engineers had asked for that safety day they had down in Garrison. Well, not Garrison, Riverdale. And they asked if I'd come up and do a little severe weather training for them, and that was at 2 o'clock. So I asked Rick if we could move this. Usually we have the training here at 7. I asked if we could move it to 6 to kind of close my gap a little bit between talks. So this is the 2018 severe weather spotter training, a Skywarn training. And what I tried to do is I took out kind of some of the routine things, things I think you know, I'm confident that you know, and try to concentrate more on the you know, the little more on the advanced side material. At the end, we'll show you some videos. Maybe we'll ask what you see in those videos and take it from there. Well, also, I've got a MiFi here, so if we can get some good internet connection, we can look at the Weather Service website and see if we've got some thunderstorms popping up this evening. It looked, this morning anyway, it looked like it would be the southern half of the state or so. So, we want to talk about thunderstorms, right? And as we know, rain showers, thunderstorms, they have air that moves up, right? We call that the updraft. And air that moves down, we call that the downdraft. When you're looking out at a thunderstorm, and you'll never see this when it's right over town or something like that, right? But off in the distance, 50, 60, 70 miles away, you look at a thunderstorm, and what you always want to kind of be looking initially at the bottom of the storm, right, near the ground, and the part of the storm that you can see daylight through the bottom, the part that you can see daylight through the bottom, that's the updraft of the storm, right? Any rain there is being pushed up into the storm and falling out, usually towards the front of the storm. On the front side of the storm is where the downdraft is. Not always, but most of the time, right? At least with what we call the supercell thunderstorms, okay? Discrete individual supercell storms versus, say, a line of thunderstorms, right? There it's kind of reversed then. But on these supercells, that updraft is usually on the back side of the storm and the downdraft, the sinking air, towards the front side, okay? It's called the forward flank downdraft. Then we have the updraft. Way on the back of the storm, typically there's more sinking air, because when the updraft goes up, it kind of splits when it gets near the top of the weather-producing atmosphere. That updraft kind of splits. This part becomes the downdraft. This part here moves to the back of the storm and becomes another downdraft. We call that the rear flank downdraft. Okay? So we've got the forward flank sinking air, forward flank downdraft, the updraft, and then the rear flank downdraft as the storm is moving, let's say, this way. Okay? So the part of the storm you can see through the bottom, updraft. The part you cannot, it's dark all the way to the ground, that's the downdraft, the sinking air, right? Here's the problem with the updraft. If the updraft in the storm is pretty much straight up, it's going to carry the rain up into the top of the thunderstorm, and then it's going to kind of fall back down through the updraft. The rain is going to try and fall back down through the updraft. Okay? So it's like if I asked you to stand up. You'd stand up, no problem, right? But if I came over to you, put my hands on your shoulders and pushed down and said, stand up, you'd still be able to stand up, but it would be much harder. Same thing with these thunderstorms. If the updraft is straight up, it's going to rain back down through the updraft. It's just not going to be able to get very intense. It's going to be a weak storm. Somehow, we got to get that updraft to kind of lean over a little bit so that the updraft can go and the rain and hail fall out way over there. Okay? Anybody know how do we get that updraft to kind of lean over a little bit? It's called shear, right? Shear just means a change. Two types of wind shear we're interested in: speed shear and direction shear, right? Speed shear and direction shear. Here's a picture of a thunderstorm from Bismarck a few years ago. This is a supercell storm. This is a supercell storm. What makes a thunderstorm a supercell is that the updraft is not only going up into the thunderstorm, even if it's tilted, it's not only going up, but it's turning. The updraft itself is turning as you go up through the atmosphere. And from looking at this picture, it's not even a video, but you can just see right here, it kind of looks like a flying saucer, right? Like a UFO, right, as we say. And right here you can see, from just use your imagination on the picture, you can just see the way this thunderstorm is turning. You look up at the thunderstorm, you say, gee, it looks like that whole thunderstorm is turning. Yeah, if that updraft is turning as it goes up through the thunderstorm, you're going to say, gee, it looks like that whole thunderstorm is turning. Okay, a supercell. Two types of clouds that we're very interested in that form underneath the thunderstorm.
Wall cloud.
Two types. What's the first one
Wall
we're
cloud.
interested in? A wall cloud. A wall cloud. A wall cloud is found underneath the updraft, not too far from the downdraft. In other words, where they kind of come together, a little more under the updraft, but kind of close to where the updraft and downdraft come together. What's important about a wall cloud? We'll show you some pictures. What's important about a wall cloud?
Separating the two forces.
As if it's trying to drop it.
Yes, it helps you. It can help you to pick out the updraft, downdraft, kind of that interface, right? Where's their updraft and where is their downdraft, and where are we kind of in that milky middle, right? What else about a wall cloud is important?
That's where usually the twisters form.
Do you need a wall cloud to get a tornado?
No.
No. But those big ones, those big tornadoes, boy, most of those, you had a wall cloud before those big ones get going. You had a wall cloud. Here's the thing about a wall cloud. Let's say right now outside, there's not a cloud in the sky. Not a cloud in the sky. There are clouds. Let's pretend. There's not a cloud in the sky right now. What's the chance of getting a tornado right now? 0. You can't. It's 0. You may get a dust devil, right? But that's not a tornado. Okay. Now I put a thunderstorm outside. What's the chance of getting a tornado now?
Low.
I don't know. But it's not 0 anymore. Let's say the chance is 1. Now I make that thunderstorm rotate. I turn it into a supercell. Now what's the chance of getting a tornado? I don't know. But it's not 1 anymore. It's 2. Now I put a wall cloud underneath that thunderstorm. You know what I'm going to ask you? What's the chance of getting a tornado now? I don't know, but it's not 2 anymore. It's 3. Now the wall cloud itself starts rotating. What's the chance of getting a tornado now? I don't know, but it's not 3 anymore. It's 4. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's the importance of a wall cloud. Just because I get a wall cloud, even if the wall cloud is rotating, and gang, very, very critical is, don't ever report it's rotating. You got to tell me what is rotating. The whole thunderstorm, the wall cloud, or this finger sticking down. Do you see what I mean? Because we get a lot of those reports. It's rotating. What is it? You know what I mean? See what I mean? Okay. So that's the importance of a wall cloud. Importance of a wall cloud. What's the other kind of cloud? So, let me ask you now. The wall cloud. As the thunderstorm moves along, does the wall cloud stay under the thunderstorm? Or does it move out from under the thunderstorm? Stays under it. So as a thunderstorm moves along, you got my thunderstorm here, my wall cloud here. As the thunderstorm moves along, the wall cloud stays underneath there. What's the other kind of cloud that many people mistake for a wall cloud? S.
Shelf.
Shelf. Shelf cloud. Okay, let's back up a second. The wall cloud is where the air is flowing in and up. Stay underneath the thunderstorm. The shelf cloud, down and out. The shelf cloud also forms under the thunderstorm. But as the thunderstorm moves along, the shelf cloud will race out ahead of the thunderstorm. When you see a shelf cloud, what is the main threat with the shelf cloud?
Wind.
Wind. High wind. High wind. High wind. All right. Want to show you a picture, and we'll get to all this, right? Kind of wanted to open it up with that. Wanted to show you a map of western and central North Dakota. This is the forecast area of the Bismarck office of the National Weather Service. You know that the National Weather Service has national centers, right? Like, we don't want every forecast office forecasting where the hurricane's going to go. The National Hurricane Center does that, right? We don't want all the offices across the country, like the one in Bismarck, putting out a forecast of what the winter is going to be like, right? So we have the Climate Prediction Center to do that, all right? That's national centers. And then, of course, we have offices like we have in Bismarck. Bismarck is considered a field office. We're out in the field, right? There are 122 field offices, forecast field offices across the country, and we all have our little area of responsibility. We all have our little area that we're responsible for. And here's our little area that we're responsible for. Of the 122 offices, it's the 9th largest area, land-wise, that we have to take care of. So it is actually not a little area. It is a tremendously large area. And to help us do our job, we've got an amazing tool, and it's called a radar, right? This is a Doppler radar, and they're kind of getting a little old now, right? It's 1988 or so technology, and they were installed in the late 80s, early 90s, and so now we're pushing 25 years old. But it's an amazing tool. Inside the dome is the antenna. The antenna goes around in a circle. It sends out energy, and then it listens. Sends out energy, and it listens. It's listening most of the time. And when that energy hits something like a raindrop, a snowflake, a hailstone, some of the energy comes back to the radar, and it paints a picture. So the energy goes out from the radar when it hits raindrop, snowflake, hailstone. Some of the energy comes back to the radar, and it paints a picture. We call that reflectivity. Reflectivity. The way the radar works actually is, as it goes around in a circle, remember we talked about that? Send, listen. It takes slices of the atmosphere. It takes slices of the atmosphere. Two problems with the radar. The first problem is if you're too close. Because it only scans from here up to here, about 20 degrees. From 0, 90 degrees would be straight up. It only scans to about 20 degrees. So as a thunderstorm moves in, let's say this is a thunderstorm. When the thunderstorm's out here, see, the radar can see the whole thunderstorm. But as the thunderstorm moves in closer to the radar, look at this. The radar cannot see the top of the thunderstorm anymore. It can't see the middle as it comes right in close to the radar. So that's a problem if you're too close to the radar. Your nearest radar is about 8 miles east of Deering, over in McHenry County. It's the nearest Doppler radar to Minot. The problem if you're too far away from the radar is the farther you go away from the radar, the energy is going out, not in a straight line, right? But fairly straight line, let's call it. But the Earth is curved. So as the energy goes away from the radar, the Earth curves down and away from it. So the farther you go away from the radar, the higher up the energy is in the sky. At 60 miles away from the radar, at 60 miles away, the energy from the lowest slice is up about 1 mile in the sky. So in other words, let's just say 5,000 feet, roughly, right, give or take. So 60 miles away from the radar, the energy is 1 mile, 5,000 feet up in the atmosphere.
But you won't see it.
Pardon me?
You won't see it.
Right.
It's
I can't see anything.
below the radar horizon.
That's right. Exactly correct. Yes. Now, some tornadoes, not very many, thankfully, but some tornadoes form near the ground and work their way up. A tornado forming near the ground 60 miles away from the radar, I'm not going to see it because it's forming here and the radar energy is up here. Until it comes up and intersects that, I'm not going to see it. Right? Thankfully, most tornadoes form way high in a thunderstorm and they work their way down. So the point is, we see this rotation up here. Then we see it down here. Then we see it down here. Then we see it down here. Then we see, hey, we've got rotation in the thunderstorm and it's coming down. Go ahead and issue a tornado warning. Go ahead and issue a tornado warning. Okay? Here's what we get from the radar. 3 things that are most important. Reflectivity. This is how we can say National Weather Service Doppler radar indicated a severe thunderstorm near Berthold or 15 miles west of Minot, moving northeast at 30 miles an hour, whatever it is, from this reflectivity. Here's the scale. A little bitty raindrop returns a little bit of energy to the radar, painted green. A big hailstone returns a whole bunch of energy to the radar, painted deep red, purple, or white kind of thing. Okay, so that's reflectivity. When you look at radar, most people, when they look at the radar, you're seeing the lowest slice off the radar, the lowest slice. Okay? You have to be careful. There's a thing called, now at the weather office, we can look at every slice to see what's going on. And here's the thing. So that's how we issue the tornado warning, right? Remember we talked about up here coming down? We can issue a tornado warning even before there's a tornado. How about severe thunderstorms, say for large hail or high wind? Sometimes we can issue a warning for large hail even before there's any hail at all. How do we do that? Because off of these slices, we can see the energy returned off of every slice. And so we can look at every slice and say, holy cow, look at this. There's a tremendous amount of energy being returned 40,000 feet up into the atmosphere. Well, it's got to come down. It's got to come down. So we can issue a warning for large hail even before there's any hail at all. Now here's the problem with that. The problem with that is, where is the hail going to hit the ground? Because let's say that I can see on the radar that there is tremendous return of energy 40,000 feet up above Minot. So there's large hail 40,000 feet up above Minot. And the hail is falling, but as the hail falls, the thunderstorm is moving. So the hail, I drop a hailstone here, but the storm is moving, and so the hailstone is falling maybe something like that. So it's not going to hit the ground in Minot. It's going to hit the ground in Sawyer or something, wherever. So I issue a warning for Minot. I include the city of Minot, and you don't get any big hail. And you're glad about that, right? Of course. But you see my point of people say, well, there was no bad weather. Yeah, but 8 miles away there was. Give me a break, right? Okay. Same thing with wind. We've got wind 40,000 feet. Then we see that wind, that high wind is now dropped to here. That high wind is now dropped to here. Go ahead and issue a warning. That high wind is coming down towards the ground. And when we talk about high wind, here's the velocity off the radar. Here's the velocity scan. So what I want to show you here, the reason I put these pictures in from along the Montana border, here's the Montana border right here, Williston, right there. And it's the same picture, but with the velocity. So Sidney, Montana right there, Williston right there. I want to show you that we can see thunderstorms on the Montana border from the Minot radar. It's just that we cannot see probably from the ground up like 2 miles, maybe 10,000, 12,000 feet up. But thunderstorms are not 10 or 12,000 feet tall, right? They're 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. So here's my thunderstorm. I can't see that part, but I can see this part. This is the velocity here. So for example, this blue, I think that correlates, I don't have a scale on here, but that probably correlates to maybe at 80 miles an hour or so. So if you look at the radar and you say, whoa, Sidney, Montana's getting an 80 mile an hour wind. No, wait a minute. Remember that this slice is 10,000 feet in the sky. So the wind at 10,000 feet above Sidney, Montana is blowing at 80 miles an hour. How much of that wind is making it down to the ground? That's why I need weather spotters. That's why I need weather spotters. The other thing the radar can do is the reflectivity, the velocity, and then what's called storm relative motion. In other words, the storm is moving east at 30 miles an hour. I don't care. Subtract that out and show me what's happening inside the thunderstorm. This picture here, the radar is down off the screen. The radar is down here. Energy went out, it did something, energy came back. The radar determined this is moving away, so painted red. This is moving toward, so painted green. Red right next to green, like you see right there, that's called bad news, right? Because that's your raindrop in that thunderstorm, and you're moving, the radar sampled you and determined you're moving toward me. You're a raindrop right next to her. I sample you and determine you're moving away. So for that to be happening, there's got to be some kind of rotation, some kind of spin. That's what a tornado looks like on radar. You may hear a hook echo, H-O-O, a hook echo. Here's my supercell thunderstorm. Here's my forward flank downdraft. Here's my updraft area. And then way back here is my rear flank, the backside downdraft. So this thing is moving kind of off that way, towards the top of rain. And there's some kind of rotation here, some kind of spin going on, and that spin has grabbed the rain and hail and it's wrapped it around itself right there to form that backward comma, that hook echo. An indication of rotation, possibly a tornado. Here's the limitations we talked about on the radar. Right over the radar is this cone of silence. I cannot see what's going on right above the radar. And here you can see the farther you go away from the radar, the higher up that energy is in the sky. That's the point of that one there for you. Here's another way to look at it. So those thunderstorms right over the radar, radar sometimes doesn't even know it's there. And then here, the radar cannot detect the bottom of those thunderstorms off in the distance. Again, trying to give you the idea that closer to the radar, I can see most of the thunderstorm, except the top I can. The farther off in the distance, I can only see the middle and top parts. Can't see the bottom. The signal too, if you're the radar and there's a thunderstorm here, and a thunderstorm here, and a thunderstorm here, well, some of that thunderstorm closest to you is going to absorb some of your energy, so not your full strength is going to get through to see the second storm. And then the second storm is going to absorb, very little is going to get through to see the third storm. So storms farther away from the radar, if you have storms in between them. I got 3 storms lined up from the radar to Williston. Each successive storm is going to look weaker than what it maybe really is. You know the definition of a severe thunderstorm: large hail 1 inch in diameter or bigger. A quarter is 1 inch in diameter. Hail the size of a quarter or bigger, by definition, severe thunderstorm. High wind 58 miles an hour or higher, by definition, severe thunderstorm. And we'll tell you in the warning, is it quarter size hail, $50 golf ball? We'll tell you, is it 60, 70, 80 mile an hour wind? And then, of course, tornadoes. Violently rotating column of air extends down out of a thunderstorm. Violently rotating column of air extends down from a thunderstorm to be a tornado. It's got to be in contact with the ground. If it's not in contact with the ground, we call that a funnel cloud. We'll look at this, maybe we get to the internet here. What you should do in the morning and throughout the day, because they can change, right? But what we need to do is go to the Storm Prediction Center website. Storm Prediction Center is one of those national centers in Norman, Oklahoma. And they're monitoring, one of the jobs they're doing is monitoring the whole lower 48 states. What's the risk of thunderstorms today? And then how strong are the thunderstorms going to be? So you're not even in the outlook at all, no thunderstorms today. General thunderstorms, we don't think they're going to be severe, just general thunderstorms. Marginal, isolated severe storms possible. Kind of just, some of them may just make it to severe limits. 40 to 60 mile an hour, maybe 1 inch hail. At the worst. Slight risk, scattered severe thunderstorms. Short-lived and or not very widespread, isolated intense storms, maybe a tornado. And then worse from there. An enhanced risk, moderate risk, high risk.
Enhanced risk was the stuff we had a couple days ago.
Friday,
Yeah.
a good part of the state was in a slight risk, and then the kind of Bismarck at the Jamestown, that area, was in an enhanced risk. And you got to watch that, because during the day it can change.
Shift, yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I think here we go. I should have captured that one from the other day to give you a North Dakota one. So this is from April 27, 2011. So Kansas City, Missouri, no thunderstorms even today. Springfield, St. Louis, thunderstorms, but not severe. Then we move into our marginal, our slight risk of severe, our enhanced risk, our moderate risk, our high risk. Not common to see North Dakota, even enhanced is
Pushing it.
how many times during the year maybe?
I think I've only seen one time in the last maybe 10 years where I've seen it moderate.
Yeah. Just not a common thing.
No.
Not a common. Watches. Watch means it could happen. Severe thunderstorm watch. Hey, we get thunderstorms today, pretty good chance, large hail, high wind. We're going to put out a severe thunderstorm watch. Heads up. Tornado watch. Not only, we get thunderstorms today, not only high wind to large hail, pretty good chance we're going to get some tornadoes out of those. We're going to put you in a tornado watch. Flash flood watch. Thunderstorms are going to be slow moving, dumping a whole lot of rain. Had that problem up near Portal, Burke County, Friday night. Carrington Police Department advised no travel in Carrington. They had some intersections flooded in Carrington, Foster County, north of Jamestown. Flash flood watch. Hey, you know, we had all that rain on Saturday. We had more rain on Monday. Boy, the ground is really saturated, and now I'm forecasting more thunderstorms tonight. Ground is saturated. It can't take the water. It's going to be flowing off, right? Running off. Let's issue a flash flood watch for that. Heads up. Here's a rather large tornado watch. This is from 2010, June 17th. June 17th, so 2010, 8 years ago. The counties highlighted in red are in a tornado watch from 12:25 in the afternoon till 9 o'clock at night. Includes Ward County. Okay? Atmosphere conducive to get supercell storms and tornadoes. A little higher than a typical risk of tornadoes. We're going to put a tornado watch out. And the way this is going to work is, come over this way. The way this is going to work is, let's say it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 o'clock in the afternoon now, and the threat has now passed to here. Geez, I just think we're done out here. The cold front has already passed through. Not going to be any more severe storms or tornado risk behind the cold front. So we're going to cancel the watch. We're going to say severe tornado watch canceled for Renville County, Burke, Montreal, and Ward. We're not going to keep you under the gun, so to speak, till 9 o'clock tonight if the danger is over at 3. See what I mean? Same thing with warnings. Now, warnings, as far as same thing, I mean, we're not going to keep you in the warning once the storm has passed through. So, for example, severe thunderstorm warning, large hail, high wind been reported or indicated by radar. Tornadoes been sighted or indicated by radar. Tornado warning, flash flood warning, same thing. So here we've got, upstream of you, we've got a thunderstorm there, northwest of Stanley. We think it's severe. We issued a severe thunderstorm warning for most of Montreal County. Got another thunderstorm in northeast McKenzie County. I think that one's severe. Issued a severe thunderstorm warning for northeast McKenzie County. Got a line of severe thunderstorms from north of Grassy Butte down to near Fairfield. Moving east, we issued a severe thunderstorm warning for part of McKenzie, Billings, and Dunn counties there. A little while later, not only radar indicating high wind and hail, but there's rotation. So now for this area here, I'm going to issue a tornado warning. Again, once these thunderstorms, let's say once they get to this position, right, I'm going to cancel the backside of this warning. I'm going to cancel it. You're no longer in danger. So we might, let's say we issue a warning for the whole county, all of Ward County. Once those thunderstorms move through, let's say once they move through Kenmare, no more threat at Kenmare, we're going to cancel the warning out for Kenmare. And Donnybrook and Carpio, whatever, right, as we go down the line. All right. I know that you know right now is the prime time of day for tornadoes in North Dakota, right? From say 4 in the afternoon till 10 or so at night. But we've had tornadoes in North Dakota every hour of the day and night. So we need to be ready all the time, not just from 4 till 10 p.m., right? I know that you know June and July are our peak months for tornadoes in North Dakota. But I want to make sure that you're aware that we've had tornadoes in March and April. We've had tornadoes in September, October, and November in North Dakota. So we need to be ready all the time. All the time. Picture of a tornado 7 years ago north of Bismarck. This tornado hit nothing. It hit nothing. I had to rate it a 0. You know the tornado scale? 0, the weakest tornado. 5, the most powerful. It's based on the damage done. So if there's no damage, I got to rate it a 0.
EF0 to EF5.
EF0 to EF5. EF is enhanced Fujita scale. The tornadoes, the tornado at Hebron Friday night hit nothing. Rated as 0. Don't even have to go look at anything. There's nothing much to look at. The tornado north of Killdeer. 9 miles north of Killdeer, there was a mobile home completely destroyed. 10 north of Killdeer, a farm with substantial damage. Rated that one a 2.
Yeah.
At a 2, a mobile home is completely destroyed. So if the only thing, and I don't mean by only thing, I don't mean to diminish the mobile home. I'm not using it in that sense. What I'm saying is, let's say a tornado hit a mobile home and nothing else. At an EF2, the mobile home is completely destroyed. That's the highest rating I can give that tornado. I can't give it a 3 because the thing is gone at a 2. Does that make sense?
I always thought it would be gone on EF1.
Sometimes. High end 1, sometimes. But we can spill into the low end 2. Now, to each of these, we attach, it's really a damage scale, but to each of these we attach a wind speed. Because people want to know, what was the wind? 65 to 85 is a 0. 86 to 110 is a 1. 111 to 135 is a 2.
Are those readings based off instrumentation, or is that off damage?
Excellent. Excellent question. Damage. So we look at the damage, and I'm not an engineer, and I'm not a, I don't build houses, right? But I've got guides. And I go out and I plug in. Now it's electronic. We have it on an iPad. And we go out and we plug in what we see. Mobile home. What's the extent of the damage? This here, and then it spits out the EF rating. Okay. House. We're going to plug in. Was it a wood house or was it a brick house? Right? It's going to take a little more on the bricks, right, to get those walls knocked down, type of thing. So, was it a hardwood tree or a softwood tree? You know, how thick were the branches that were snapped off, or the tree trunk, type of thing. And it's going to spit out the EF scale and the wind speeds that go with it. Now, true story, and I can't remember exactly where this was, but somewhere down south. There was a tornado. The local National Weather Service office did a damage survey and rated that tornado a 3. I can't remember all the details, but let's just say rated it a 3. There was a mobile Doppler radar on the back of a truck. Researchers were out driving around during this tornado outbreak. They contacted the local National Weather Service office, I think it was in Oklahoma, if I'm not mistaken. Contacted the local National Weather Service office, said, we were close to that tornado, we have data. Do you want it? Yes. Shared it with the National Weather Service. This Doppler radar on wheels measured 206 miles an hour, something like that. The local office changed the rating on the tornado from a 3, or whatever they rated it, to a 5. Because 65 to 85, 86 to 110, 111 to 135, 136 to 165, 166 to 200, better than 205. The local office changed the rating from 3 to 5 based on that Doppler radar on wheels. There was an uproar because I thought that was a damage scale, not a wind scale. What are you doing with the wind thing? The director of the National Weather Service stepped in and said, you will lower the rating on that tornado back to what you originally had. We do not measure the wind speed in a tornado and use that to determine the EF scale. That's doing things backwards.
So even if you had a sensor that went, the tornado
if I had an
went through
anemometer right there, measured 600 miles an hour, I'm being extreme.
Mhm.
Nope.
Wow.
It's not going to still be standard, but you know what I'm saying. Yeah. Now here's the thing.
Well, maybe one of those probes.
A hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, an EF5,
Okay.
when it hasn't hit a land.
Category 5.
Okay. That scale is the Saffir-Simpson scale is what measures hurricanes, and that is a wind scale.
So the difference
They-
between hurricanes and tornadoes.
Yes. Different scales being used. And they do fly into the hurricane and measure the wind speed. Yes. Yeah. Good question. But different, we're kind of talking apples and oranges there. Yep. So, and it's good because you know what? Here's the thing, too. The damage, let's say this Doppler, and I don't know, I can't recall exactly how high. In other words, this Doppler on wheels wasn't right next to the tornado. It was off, let's say, a little bit, right? So it didn't really measure the wind at the ground. It measured the wind, let's say, 50 feet up. Well, the wind to 50 feet up maybe was 206 miles an hour, but how do you know that it was 206 miles an hour at the ground?
Yeah.
You don't. So it was the right decision by the director of the National Weather Service. It was the right decision. And if we don't like the way things are, right? I mean, we can change them. We can change the way we do things.
I was going to ask on watches, when the Storm Protection Center issues tornado
Yes.
watches.
Yeah.
Sometimes they also put out PDS on there, the particular dangerous situations.
Yes.
How's that all work? I've only
When-
briefly had an idea of what it is.
Mainly for the tornado aspect, when it really looks like, and not only tornadoes, but we're going to be 3 and higher, particularly dangerous situation. They'll actually put out an additional statement that says particularly dangerous
I've
situation.
seen that once or twice up here.
Yeah,
Not in maybe the last 15 years.
yeah, extremely rare. Yeah. The other thing that the National Weather Service office in Bismarck has never issued is a tornado emergency.
No.
A tornado emergency is a tool in our back pocket. It's the same thing, it's going to go the same thing as a tornado warning, except instead of saying, and I can't recall exactly what it says like EAS activation, emergency alert system activation requested, or something like that.
From what I've seen from down south, when they issue those.
Down south. And it won't say...
It's mainly when they have a very large tornado on the ground.
Yes,
It's
that's
been
right.
confirmed by spotters.
That's right.
Confirmed by radar.
That's right.
And it's doing damage.
That's right. And usually, and please don't misunderstand what I'm going to say here, usually it would involve a population center. Now, I'm not saying it has to be the city of Minot, that big. But if there's not a single town for the next 15 miles of where that tornado is, we're not going to issue a tornado emergency for that, right? So what this would say is, it would actually say on the top, tornado emergency for the city of Minot. It's a tool that we have in our back pocket to, look at, I rang the bell, I hit you over the head with the hammer, tornado warning, right? But now I'm going to pull out the sledgehammer maybe and try and hit you over the head so that you say, man, this is the big one. Like we ain't never seen before.
It's coming.
Yeah.
And it's been spotted.
But exactly like you say, though. Oklahoma's, the Kansas,
Yes.
the Missouris, you know what I mean? Yeah. Real quick, I just want to go over some safety for you. Tornado warning. For a tornado, you want to be inside in the basement, right? You want to be below ground in the basement. If you're caught out on the farm, you know, ditch, low spot, culvert. You want to get in there. No building nearby. There's just no building nearby. Ditch, culvert, low spot. If there's a building, get into the building. Lowest level, the basement, hopefully. And if you don't have a basement, lowest level, center. Maybe you got a bathroom or a closet, lowest level of the building, center. You want to put a whole bunch of walls between you and the tornado.
Unless you live in a mobile home.
Unless you live in a mobile home.
Then just get out.
And then we say, here's what you need to do there is, you know you're weather aware. So you know, hey, they're forecasting thunderstorms tonight. Could be some tornadoes. They issued a tornado watch. You look at the radar, you see it's getting dark out there to the west. You look at the radar, you see there's thunderstorms 30 miles away moving your way. It's time to leave the mobile home and get to a more permanent structure, right? Friend or neighbor's house, whatever, something like that. Flash flood. Any of you do, we don't encourage chasing, but do you go out, do you pre-position yourselves, or are you pretty much from home that you're?
In the past,
I've done some pre-position.
Done some pre-positioning. So when you're out there, again, you got to watch those low water crossings, right? The little creek that used to flow under the highways now flowing over the highway.
I remember I was talking to the Stanley Skywarn people, and they just this last couple days, and they had all the tornadoes going on.
Yeah.
And the ditches were just full of water everywhere,
Yeah.
running over the road. Of course, they had been also had in the rain continuously up there all day too. So.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and like I say, yeah, Stanley, Burton, just north of there, Burton County, and it's funny because I was up there. When did I do Skywarn training up there? On the 30th or something. All right, so you know it, right? Do not drive into the water. Turn around. Don't drown. 6 inches fast-moving water knock you off your feet. 2 feet of water float your vehicle. If the water's moving, now your vehicle's going to move. So do not drive into the water. I want to go over with you quickly here. This would be we haven't done this in a while, but thunderstorm life cycle. Towering cumulus stage. Almost all of the motion is upward. The storm is just being born. Not even any lightning yet. Not really even a thunderstorm yet, because you haven't had a flash of lightning. Okay, that's the towering cumulus stage. Here's what it might look like. You know, you go outside and you say, oh, here's the thing to look for. I don't think I have a picture of it, but usually in the morning this is. They're mid-level clouds, altocumulus, and they're little, like battles, little bubbles going up. Usually the base is kind of flat, but you got these bubbles going up. That's usually a sign that there's turbulence, there's upward motion in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. And that's one thing you need, right? Once you get a parcel of air rising, you want it to keep on rising, so you need this unstable air in the middle layers of the atmosphere, 10,000, 15, 20,000 feet up, right? So you look for that in the morning. Then you start to see this cumulus pop up, the cumulus cloud pop up, and then you're looking at it and you say, geez, it's starting to get now some vertical development to it. Some vertical development. When you look at cumulus clouds, if the base is really spread out, in other words, the base is here, horizontally, the base is here, and vertically it only goes that high. No good, right? The bases are flat and wide spread out, much more so than vertically. Then you go out a little later, as it heats up a little maybe, right? Go out a little later and say, whoa, look at that. Now it's about equal. The bases horizontally and the towers vertically about equal. Moderate cumulus clouds. Then you go out a little while later and you say, okay, now the vertical growth is greater than how the spreading out is. Towering cumulus stage. Towering cumulus stage. Then we get into the mature stage. One main area of upward motion, one main area of downward motion. Again, the beginning stage of the thunderstorm. Mature stage. And then finally the dissipating or the dying stage. Here's a dissipating storm. So here's a few battlements here. A little bit of upward motion here. And this is the updraft from the former storm. Here's the anvil. You've all seen the anvil on a thunderstorm. Usually the anvil is kind of fuzzy looking, right? It's that cirrus cloud way high in the atmosphere being spread out, the anvil. You want to look for the anvil when it's got bubbles in it. Okay, that's showing you got tremendous upward motion even at the higher levels of the atmosphere. Even at the higher levels. So here's a single cell thunderstorm. And again, this is now the opposite of the supercell that we talked about. Here the updraft is on the front side. The downdraft is on the back side. And what's happened is the updraft and downdraft, we talked about this a little at the beginning, the updraft and the downdraft are just too close together. They're just too close together. So it's kind of raining into the updraft. Short-lived. Probably not going to be severe. You might get some pea-sized hail, some dime-sized hail. You might get a 40-mile-an-hour wind. But you're not going to get severe. Again, they can be marginally severe. You know, 1-inch hail, you say, well, it's just the size of a quarter. Oh, it's just about 55, 60 mile an hour on the wind. And their pulse severe. Like your pulse, you know, the thump, the thump, the thump. So that it kind of builds up, falls apart. Builds up, falls apart. Builds up, falls apart. Single cell, pulse, severe at the worst. Multi-cell. Multi, more than one. And this is a cluster. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Not one storm, 3. They're in different stages of their life cycle. This one's just being here. As this one dies out, a new one forms back here. As this one dies out, a new one forms back here. As this one dies out, a new one. So they're kind of feeding on each other. The one's kind of got to die out before the other one gets going. Problem here, that low water crossing. Because you're going to get a thunderstorm after a thunderstorm after a thunderstorm after. You're going to get 4 thunderstorms over the next 2 hours. Too much rain. Too much rain. And, you know, there's so much energy available today, so much energy in the atmosphere, and they're all fighting for that energy. So probably none of them are going to be able to take off. They're having to share. They're having to share. Squall line. So this is thunderstorms that have kind of, they're not in a cluster. There's 3 or 4 of them, but they're not in a cluster. They're lined up. They're lined up from Botno to Minot to Killdeer, moving east or southeast, whatever, right? They're lined up. The thread here, the main thread, damaging wind. Damaging wind.
So we had last night. They weren't severe, but they were just kind of lined up.
Lined up.
Didn't know.
You were still sleeping.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, I'm sitting up
I
2 in the
sleep-
morning.
I sleep through everything. Well, not everything. I do.
The thing is with these two is you can just picture this, right? It's usually, it's lined up from Botno to Minot down to Killdeer, but the line is only 30 miles wide. So this son of a gun, and it's moving at 50 miles an hour. That son of a gun is going to be through here, and it starts lightning and thundering and raining. Half an hour later, you're going to see the sun shining out to the west. See what I mean? Just going to be kind of a quick shot.
And like last night, you actually had an outflow boundary for the head of the storms.
Were you able to see that?
Yeah, on radar, yeah.
Here's another problem with these is, you know, as I'm kind of collapsing, my neighbor is growing, and as he collapses, his neighbor grows. And along the line, this squall line, sometimes you get little spin-ups of tornadoes along the line. Very hard to warn for. Because it's not your classic looking at the radar and saying, oh, hey, look at this up here, toward and away, it's coming down, right, like in a supercell. This rotation, some of it, is forming closer to the ground in the low levels of the storm. So these are going to be tough to get any kind of warnings with good lead time on. You might look at a line and say, boy, there could be a tornado there, and a tornado there, and a tornado there, and a tornado there, and what do I do? You're not going to issue tornadoes for the whole line. That wouldn't be a prudent thing to do. So, tough. Tough. There's our supercell. Highly organized, extremely strong, rotating updraft. We call that the mesocyclone. That rotating updraft we call the mesocyclone. High risk of severe weather. Only a small percent trigger tornadoes, but boy, like I said, most of those big tornadoes, they're coming out of these supercell storms. Bow echo. You'll never see a bow echo outside, right? This is a radar term. What's happening is there's a line of thunderstorms, and the wind here is pushing out faster than the wind down here or the wind up here. And so this part of the line is going to move faster. So it's going to bow out like that, like a bow and arrow. Again, we got to watch. Have you heard the term bookend vortice? Bookend vortex. These are the bookends of my bow echo. And you got to watch for spin-ups of tornadoes along a bow echo. Usually not right at the apex of the high wind, but to the north or south of it. A funny looking cloud is going to form on the front side of this bow echo. What is that cloud called? The S one.
Shelf.
The shelf. There it is. This funny looking wedge-shaped cloud is going to form there. Before I talk about that, I do want to back up to this because this is Minot. Here's Minot. Here's the Minot Air Force Base, outlined in white. The radar is over here off the screen in Deering. Energy went out, it hit something, energy came back to the radar. It determined this is all moving away from me, painted red. So the wind today is an east wind, blowing from the east. It's blowing from Devil's Lake to Minot to Williston, except for right here. This is a line of thunderstorms that's moving toward the east, that way. Red is away from the radar, green is toward the radar. And if you look, it's not very, very well defined, but it's here. Look at the way this is bowing out here. Can you see it? It's not straight north-south. It's bowing out at the apex of the highest wind right there. And we can take the cursor on the radar display and put it right over the highest wind here at the Minot Air Force Base, and we get a readout. Negative 102.9 knots. Negative means inbound to the radar. 103 knots is about 119 miles an hour. And continue on the readout, we see 1,121 feet above ground level. So what this is showing us that the wind is blowing at 119 miles an hour, 1,121 feet above the Minot Air Force Base. How much of that wind is making it down to the ground? This day, 93 miles an hour measured at the base. 93 miles an hour. That's a bow echo. And on the front side of a bow echo, you're going to see a funny looking wedge-shaped cloud like that. Sometimes a lot of times on the front side of a supercell thunderstorm. You're going to see a shelf cloud. It's detached, you can see right here. See how it's detached from the thunderstorm? Sometimes it's hard to tell, is that a wall cloud or a shelf cloud? Again, if it's a wall cloud, it's going to stay under the thunderstorm. If it's a shelf cloud, it's going to race out ahead. So this is going to race out ahead. So right now the wind, where we're sitting and standing, the wind is at our back. It's inflow to the thunderstorm. It's a warm wind, 20, 30 miles an hour. Way into the picture, you can see it's dark all the way to the ground. It's raining there. This rain is coming down. It's hitting the ground. It's cooling the air. And this rain-cooled air is hitting the ground. It can't go into the ground, so it starts to spread out like that. So we've got the warm, moist air coming in, the cool air coming out, and where they meet, you know that warm air is less dense, rises. Cold air is heavier, more dense, it sinks. The cold air sinks down, the warm air rises up, and where they meet in there, you get that funny looking wedge-shaped cloud to form, called a shelf cloud. When this cloud comes over, the wind's not at our back anymore, it's in our face. It's not inflow anymore, it's outflow. It's not 20 or 30 miles an hour anymore, it's 40, 50, 60, 70, who knows? Our drawing of our supercell. It's moving off to the right. Here's our forward flank downdraft, our sinking air. Rain, hail there. My shelf cloud's going to form there. Updraft, the main updraft. See, some of this air is coming up, coming down to form the downdraft. Other of this air is coming up, going back this way, and sinking way over here, the rear flank downdraft. So downdraft, updraft, downdraft. Moving off to the right. The bottom of the storm that you can see daylight through. Why can I see daylight? No rain there. Rain free, bottom of the thunderstorm, base, rain free base. Sometimes you can get big hail falling here. If the hail is so big and heavy that it's actually overcoming the updraft, you may get monster hailstones falling out over there. Won't be raining. Will not be raining, but you can get the monster hail. Part of the storm I can see the daylight through, that's all updraft, rain-free base, downdraft, rain and hail. Moving out to the right. What do we call this little line that forms to the rear?
Tail. Tail.
Flanking, yeah, flanking line. You'll see little build up, build up, build up. This is really what's feeding also the thunderstorm. You know, you're getting a little build up, it's feeding the big guy. Anvil, you've all seen an anvil, overshooting top. The updraft is so strong it broke through the anvil, it's coming out the top, overshooting the top of the storm. Never see it when it's right over town, right? The storms between Williston and Sydney and Stanley. You're looking out to the west, you say, holy cow, look at that bubble of cloud sticking up above there. Overshooting top. That guy means business. Here's my wall cloud. The shelf cloud again, going to race out ahead. The wall cloud's going to stay there. As the storm moves, it's going to hold underneath there. Here's my funny looking wedge-shaped cloud right there, the shelf, with my gust front. It's going to race out ahead. You're going to get, it's Cole Harbor from when? I don't know how many years ago was that? Has to be at least 10, I guess. Huh?
2006.
2006.
Oh, yeah.
Tremendous wind. Was it raining? Nope, the rain came after. It was a shelf cloud. We had a
Straight line.
mile and a half southeast of there. Spotter said, it was a woman said, it was a shelf cloud. I said, how do you know that? I've been to your Skywarn training.
I know at the time a lot of people were skeptical if it was that or a
Yeah.
tornado,
Yeah,
just from the amount of damage.
to this day, they're skeptical. Yeah. Here's our flanking line, feeding in. Here's my wall cloud. You got it. Picture, even the anvil here, folks. Look at this bubble, 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 bubble. Man, I mean business. And if you didn't notice that, look at the overshooting top.
And that'd be the place where the hail would be forming.
Yes, would be forming there. Yep, not falling out here because that updraft is. But that's where it'd be forming. You bet, absolutely. And you know, what's the temperature? So we talked about thunderstorms, right? 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 feet tall. What's the temperature 40, 50,000 feet up in the atmosphere?
70 below zero.
In the wintertime, right?
Cold.
Maybe 45, 50 below
Yeah.
in July.
I don't know, I was never briefed when I flew at that altitude, but it was lower than 70.
You didn't fly that high, did you? 70,000?
Not quite.
Keep it a little lower.
Yeah.
So folks, we talked about this at the beginning. We need speed shear and direction shear. We need speed shear to get that updraft to kind of lean over a little bit. In other words, 20 mile an hour, 30 mile an hour. My updraft is going to lean over a little bit. Direction shear. The wind is changing direction as I go up. And so you know that the ground heats up on a summer day. The ground heats up, that air, light air, warm air rises. It starts rising. It's going to be pushed by the wind. You know, most days I would say there's direction shear in the atmosphere. If we could put food coloring into the atmosphere, you'd see it, right? How do you see it when there are thunderstorms? How do you know there's wind shear? You're looking out at thunderstorms. What's a clue that there's wind shear? You've all seen it, I know. It's just, I'm not sure how to ask that to get you down the path I want you to go. So you're looking up at this thunderstorm. and you say, what might you see that'll tell you that there's a change in the direction at different levels?
Cloud movement.
Cloud movement, yeah.
So these clouds are moving this way and these
Yeah.
clouds are moving that way. Yes, exactly.
The high clouds are
That's-
maybe moving straight east, and the other clouds are moving almost a westerly. Almost.
Some other
Sometimes
way.
they'll turn backwards and go the other way.
Right.
I'm like,
That, again, folks, you're out spotting these storms. You got to be saying to yourself, man, I got wind direction shear today. How about these clouds look like they're moving this fast and these clouds are going like that? Do you think you got some speed shear today? You bet you do. See, these are things that what we need you to do now is, I know you know this. I know you've seen it. Now you need to kind of, next time you're out,
when we're looking at like wall clouds or something,
now you need
we're
to-
looking at like scud, and scud will almost, you can almost see it go into the
Yes.
wall cloud
Yes.
from different
You-
the rotation on the wall cloud.
You
and these
can't,
little
listen, you can't
scud things.
almost see it. You can
Yeah.
see it. You can see it.
Yeah.
You're right.
And reported on
But
the
this is what we
phone,
need you to
related
do.
legible language.
So that you know, this is our purpose, because we know you're out there. The general public, maybe not so much, right? They're not out looking at these things. You're out there, we got to keep you safe. You got to know when it's time to get to shelter here and what to report, right? So here's the question. How do we know if we have speed shear and direction shear today? How do we know? I think I brought the weather balloon once before, didn't I?
Yeah.
Let me show you real quick, because say we got some new folks. This is an old one. We had other outreach today, and that fella took the newer one. But this is a microsonde. It's a weather instrument, right? Temperature, humidity, air pressure, wind speed, wind direction. We measure three directly: temperature, humidity, and air pressure. Wind speed and wind direction, we know it was here a minute ago, we're tracking it, it's here now. We can calculate, right, trigonometry and all that good math stuff. We can calculate the wind speed, wind direction. Okay? We release the weather balloon twice a day, the office in Bismarck. Right now, 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. Okay? How do we get this to go up?
Gas attack.
Balloon. What do we fill it with? Can't fill it with air. It's not going to go up.
Helium.
So we use helium or hydrogen.
Lighter than air.
Lighter than air. Tie the end of the string off. Okay, fill it about that big around. On a windy day, like last Saturday, on a windy day, it doesn't want to go up. It wants to go that way. So a little more gas. Get it off the ground. Right? Tie the end of the nozzle off with a string. Tie the other end of the string. You can see this is one that was actually released, I guess. Yeah, let's see. Oh, here. 402, BIA Route 22, Golden Valley, North Dakota. So that's northeast of Dickinson. 5517, May 5th, 2017 in the morning. It was hanging in a tree all winter. First seen it in January 2017. Whoever sent it in.
Somebody was nice enough to
Passed that
return it to you
around.
too.
And they returned it. Yep. Tie a string to there, take it outside, let it go. Does it go straight up over Bismarck? Goes whichever way the wind is blowing. How fast? However fast the wind is blowing. Rises about 1,000 feet every minute. About 1,000 feet every minute. 90,000 feet is a good run. About an hour and a half to complete the run. Okay? Constantly sending back. I'm at 1,000 feet. Here's the temperature, humidity, air pressure, wind speed, wind direction. I'm at 2,000 feet. Temperature, humidity, pressure, wind speed. I'm at 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000. Sends it back in real time. As you go up through the atmosphere, it gets colder. What happens to air pressure? As you go up in the atmosphere, there's less, it decreases. Less pressure on the balloon gets bigger, 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 bigger. Eventually, it'll break. Parachute opens up. Because you don't want that crashing back down to Earth, right? So parachute opens up. If you find this ever, inside is a bag with mailing instructions. You can put it in a bag, take it to the post office. It won't go to Bismarck. It goes to Kansas City, Missouri. Fix it up, use it again.
Postage due or postage paid?
Paid by the taxpayers of this country. No postage necessary if mailed in the United States.
Some days you guys release
Okay.
3 of them.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Some days you release 3 of them. If it's really, really bad.
Always, listen, always we release 2, 6 a.m., 6 p.m. In the wintertime, we turn the clocks back 5 and 5. It's being done all across the world. Not at 6 and 6 and 5 and 5, but using Zulu time. Yes, sir.
Is that also a logging device? So that all that data is on board?
No,
Telemetry.
Oh,
nothing. Nothing stored in there. It's constantly being sent back. Yep.
that's reusable.
But we can use, yeah, if it's not in too bad a shape,
Yeah.
fix it up and use it again. Yep, yep.
And you're on Zulu time, that's also European time, it's GMT basically.
Universal Coordinated Time, Greenwich Mean Time, Zulu Time is all the same thing. I don't know why we got 3 different names for it, but anyway. So right now, 0, Greenwich Mean Time, Zulu Time, Universal Coordinated, midnight is 00, Greenwich, England. That is 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So you say, wait a minute, I thought you said you released the balloon at 6. Yeah, 1 hour early. At 11:23 Zulu. Because again, it takes an hour and a half to complete the run, and we want it fairly centered around the 0 and the 12.
Does every weather balloon goes up at the same time?
Yes, at the same moment in time.
Right.
There is a window, Rick. You cannot let it go before the hour, but I think you've got like a 20 or 30 minute window.
So if you're going on the way out of the building, you got time.
Here's the problem with that. All these models that we have, you've heard of all these different models we run. Some of them start running right now. If Bismarck did not release their balloon at 6 o'clock, they didn't release it until 6:25, the data from Bismarck may not make it into that model that starts running at 8 o'clock. It'll make it into the model that starts running at 8:30, but we missed because we were late. There's only one thing happening in the weather that we will not release the balloon. Only one thing. What is it?
Interfering with the landing pattern of the airport?
We have to, before we release, call the tower. We have to call the control tower in Bismarck and get permission. If a plane is landing or taken off, and the balloon, we release it. Have you been by the airport? We're right next to United Tribes Technical College. We're on the other side of the fence. If the balloon is going to go south over United Tribes away from the runway, they'll probably say, go ahead. But if the wind is such it's going to take that balloon over the runway and a plane is getting ready to land or take off, they're going to say, you got to hold. Hold. They're not
Don't
going
want
to
that sucked into an engine.
They're not going to hold up the plane, right? They're going to hold on us. Okay. There's one thing going on in the weather that we will not release the balloon. A thunderstorm. 2 reasons. Number 1, you are now endangering the life of the person standing outside.
Oh, God, yeah.
To release the balloon.
Yeah.
Number 2, the balloon is going to go into the thunderstorm. It's going to give you the conditions of the thunderstorm, which is not representative of the atmosphere over southern North Dakota today. The humidity's gonna be 100%, the wind is gonna be 70 miles an hour, you see what I mean, in the
It
thunderstorm.
may even get struck by lightning itself.
It might also.
Probably will.
To maximum altitude right now.
Go ahead again, I think I heard you.
It might take it to maximum.
Go right into the upflow.
In an instant,
You're not gonna rise at 1,000 feet a minute, you're gonna rise at
20,000.
20,000 feet a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
You got it. You got it.
What's the percentage that you get them back?
2 out of 10. 2 out of 20% roughly. I don't know, that's nationwide. I don't know the numbers for Bismarck specifically. But we've had them released from, we've had them returned from Bismarck. Guy was out hunting down along the Missouri River, said I found this balloon. It was released 3 days ago. I don't think it went straight up over Bismarck and came down. I think it went this way and then it got up here, the wind was that way, and it went this way, and somehow it ended up right back over Bismarck, or over the Missouri River south of Bismarck. See what I mean? Far away as Valley City, we've had them return. Valley City. And then Golden Valley, now, Valley City I think would be farther than what, say, Beulah, Hayes, Golden Valley, Zap, and all that are. But anyway, what else about that? Miles an hour, and I got speed shear. That's how I know the wind is from the southeast here and the northeast up here, and I have direction shear. That's how I know. That's how I know in the wintertime that there's a warm pocket of air 6,000 feet above North Dakota. And it's thick enough and warm enough that any snow falling is going to get into the warm air and melt into a water drop. And now I know that it's cold from here to the ground, and I know that it's cold enough and deep enough that the water drop is going to freeze into a ball of ice that we call sleet. Or I know that the cold air near the ground is not thick, it's shallow. So the water is not going to have time to refreeze. It's going to hit the hood of your car, and the temperature of the hood of your car is 28 degrees. It's going to freeze into a sheet of ice called freezing rain. That's how I know.
But you sometimes release more than 2 a day.
So, sometimes, last Friday I think, I didn't get into work last Friday till 3 o'clock. I worked 3 to 11. We released one at 18 Zulu. Not 18, 17 Zulu. So we had the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now we did one at 1 in the afternoon. Let's see how things have changed from this morning in the atmosphere. Let's see how things have changed. Have they gotten worse? Or have they gotten better? So we released 3 that day. The hurricanes. What's happening in North Dakota in the atmosphere, absolutely yes, has an impact on where the hurricane in the Atlantic Ocean is going to go. Because if there's a big low pressure system over North Dakota and it's covering the whole central part of the country, it could pull that hurricane farther west. It's pulling it in toward
Or if there's a big cold front, it could push that sucker back.
if there's
out.
a big cold front coming through. And it's a very powerful cold front coming through, and it's through North Dakota, Minnesota, Iowa now. When's it going to be on the East Coast? It could keep that hurricane out in the Atlantic.
Or nudge it from going through New Orleans and then go to Florida.
Exactly. Exactly. And so when we had Maria, was it? When we had twice this past summer, we were releasing balloons in support of the hurricane forecasting 4 times a day, every 6 hours. Every 6 hours. Now, to my knowledge, I have not yet seen a study where they said, look at what would have been the forecast. Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to run the models only with the data from 0 Zulu and 12 Zulu. Then you need to run them with the data from 0, 6, 12, and 18 Zulu and say, was the forecast better? That has not, to my knowledge, been done yet, but I sure would think they have to.
Well, there's so many models for hurricanes.
Yeah, but they have to do it because you cannot justify spending twice the amount of money releasing these balloons if it's not helping.
Yeah.
You can't do that. Right? The federal government is broke. All right.
What kind of a instrument package would they have used in 1952 when I was in grade school, watching these being launched in Williston?
This is since World War II, been releasing these balloons.
But these have GPS on them.
This has GPS, yeah. No,
The radio
radio.
you're talking about would not have had any,
What kind
Yeah.
of,
it would have had.
what kind of electronics would they have had in 1952?
In 1952,
They had to have a tube type HF transmitter.
I was 15 years from being born.
When I was in first grade, I can remember that being a big event, watching the balloons going up from the old post office in Williston.
Now, well, here's one thing they used to do there, though. Wasn't this. What they would do, and I worked in Williston, we did this sometimes. You'd release the balloon to determine the cloud deck. How, when the laser beam had gone out, that measured the ceiling pilot. You'd release the balloon, pilot balloon. You'd release a pieball and time it to see how long did it take to disappear. You get an idea of those clouds are 800 feet above the ground or they're 2,000 feet above the ground. But there was no instrumentation on those. Now, I'm not talking about 1952, I don't know. But in the early 90s when I would do it.
I seem to remember that when they released those balloons, they observed them.
Yes,
They observed them
Yes.
constantly to see what the movement was.
yes,
That was a big event for us in the playground.
yeah. The other thing is,
Not much happens in Williston.
But
Not much happens in Williston.
you know, I know back in 1990 when I started, you'd need 2 people. Today you release the balloon, that's it. I mean, GPS, like you said, and all, you're basically done. Back then you had 2 people because somebody had a theodolite. Do you know the theodolite? It's that.
You got the angle
And you would do this, and then the angle thing would go, and you'd mark it, and then you'd tell that person 32 degrees, something, and they plot it. And I never did it, so I don't know exactly what. But then you plot it to determine with the time. Yeah, that great math. To determine, you know, how high it is and or whatever that thing. Yeah. All right. Here it is.
we didn't have high speed talk.
Okay. Microburst, let's talk about this and we'll get to some videos here for you. So precipitation falls out of the cloud. Sometimes the air is so dry that the rain evaporates before it gets to the ground. You see it hanging down. We kind of call that verga. You ever heard of verga?
You also get the strange effect of snow at 3,000 feet and rain on the ground.
Yeah. There you go. Right. So this precipitation falls out of the cloud, but the air is dry, and so the rain is going to evaporate. What happens when water evaporates? What happens to the temperature?
Cools down.
What happens when you get out of the shower? You feel cold because the water on your skin starts to evaporate. Same thing here. The water starts to evaporate so that the air temperature here drops. Cold air here. Heavier, more dense, technically, right? Sinks down to the ground. That sudden rush of wind down towards the ground. Microbursts can be dry, very little rain with them. They can be wet, a lot of rain with them. Right? The air eventually hits the ground. It can't go into the ground, hits the ground and spreads out. Mammatus clouds, you ever see those?
Yes.
Very beautiful to look at, right?
You're not scary anymore.
You will not get severe weather out of these clouds, but nearby. Pretty strong thunderstorm
We were
nearby.
just scared that we saw it. We were like, wow, it's one of those. Take a picture.
The front side or back side?
What do you think, Josh?
Outside.
Front side.
Both.
Both.
Both. What is a white rain shaft?
Hail.
Hail. Ice reflects more sunlight, so it'll look white. I think it's raining here, dark all the way to the ground. think there's hail in there, white. Our mesocyclone, you look at it and say, gee, the whole thing is turning. Oh, there's our wall clock. Tail, Jeff, you mentioned.
Yeah.
Here's the tail right here. You're going to see a pocket of a piece of cloud form and be sucked in right there.
Yeah.
Piece of cloud form and be sucked in.
Usually scud.
And look at this one. Rain-free base. Part of that rain-free base has dropped down to form our wall cloud. Updraft, downdraft, sinking air. Look at this.
Yeah.
Feeding into the updraft again, yeah.
Bingo. So knowing what we know about our supercell friend, raining on the front side, sinking air, downdraft, updraft back here. Which way is this moving? Towards the right, do you think, or the left? To the right. Forward flank, downdraft, updraft. I think she's moving, now, could be moving into the wall and to the right, could be moving out of the wall and to the right, but I think somehow off to the right. Good. Again, folks, this is important for you and your safety and for your reporting. If you're over here, you can't see, I'm over here against the wall, right? I cannot see through all this rain and hail to see what's going on there. I need to be on this side of the storm.
On the back side.
On the back side, kind of southwest-ish, so that I can see what's going on back here.
But not always. Sometimes the tornadoes can be rain wrapped, and you'll never see it.
But in Scotts Bluff, we used to do storm watch stuff, and we'd always be alongside of the storm. We'd spread some guys out, radio spotters, alongside the storm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one guy usually at the tail end.
And you want to move, again, we don't promote the chasing thing, but you want to, you know, thunderstorm's over here, I'm over here, and I'm kind of moving with it. Now, it starts moving toward me, well now I'm going to move, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to move this way with it. Keep my safe distance away. But I got to see here, because otherwise, you're going to radio in and say, well, I don't see any tornado, well, I don't see anything. Yeah, but you're northeast of the storm, you can't see a thing. And if it's rain wrapped, means this rotation has grabbed the rain and hail and wrapped it around itself completely. We can have the sheriffs to the south of it, you guys to the west of it, and fire department folks to the north, and everybody saying, well, I don't see any tornado, well, I don't see any tornado, I don't see any tornado. Rain wrapped. Lamore County, it's been a while now, 6-7 years ago, Lamore County rain wrapped tornado. The sheriff was following it, he said, there's damage all over, but I can't see any tornado.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. I meant to take that off of there.
One tornado video that was recently put up about a week or two ago. One of the big storm chaser guys was driving near Cheyenne and came up across a tornado out in a farm field, and he was just on the outside edge of the mass of the outer circulation of the tornado. And you could see everything being sucked towards the tornado, massive inflow. Cows being thrown through the air. Not just in a movie anymore.
So I should have done this and said, where is it, where is it? And hopefully you say,
Oh.
there it is. And I'll tell you, forget this here. I'm looking at this thunderstorm and I'm saying, what are you saying when you look at that thunderstorm?
Not severe.
I'm saying,
No big-
where's the next one? Because that's
Yeah.
nothing to worry about. And my goodness, would you look at right there?
That overshooting top, would you call it that?
I wouldn't even see that as an overshooting.
You know, to me, this looks like a cloud here, and then way into the wall is the.
I would have to look at radar,
Yeah.
because that, who knows how far that out is.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's something going on that we can't see in that picture.
There's definitely something
All
building.
right. Here's the scud we talked
Yeah.
about right here, right? Just look at all over. Hey, folks, we just had rain. It's so moist. Any lift, we're gonna get these
Yeah.
pockets of cloud forming all over.
Yep.
911, what is your emergency? Tornado. That's why I need you folks to say, hey, don't even wait, right? You call and you say, because radio we can't get in. There, you get into Dickinson now from Bismarck.
We've been stumped by Scud looking like
But-
funnels in the past.
Yeah.
And we had to put
You
3
know
or 4 different spotters on the
Yep.
on the other end of the storm to see it.
You know what's very helpful is even ahead of time to say, hey, weather service, look at, I think you're going to be getting reports of funnel cloud, but I'm telling you, I'm looking at this at Scud, and here's exactly where I am. So if you get it, because then when the phone rings,
We've done that.
Yeah.
When we've been on.
keep doing it. Because when the phone rings 5 minutes later and I get funnel cloud, I'm going to say, the hams just called and said, we're going to get that call.
Ton of Scud
But
in
it's,
here.
and then we're going to hope you're still looking at it, that if something changed, now you're calling me back again.
Yeah.
All right. Here. What kind of cloud does that look like?
That's rotating.
Looks like a shelf. So I don't expect funnels or tornadoes from shelf clouds. So is it spinning? No, 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 no. Scud. Fingers sticking down, no spin. They are not funnels, they are not tornadoes. 911, what is your emergency? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 18 tornadoes.
No.
Okay? Looks like a shelf
They're
cloud.
not connected to. They're not connected to. You can see the.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not even connected.
Looks like a shelf cloud to me. Is it spinning? No, 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 no. You get the idea. That's why I need you. That's why I need you. It is not raining here. It's raining here. It is not raining here. It's raining here. But 911, what is your emergency? Tornado, tornado, tornado. Right? Just a quick review. Who are you? Ham radio operator. They're going to perk up. The person answering the phone is going to perk up when you say that. Okay? What are you reporting? What exactly do you see? Don't say it's rotating, what's rotating, how's it rotating? Where are you? That's important. Where's the thing going on? More important. When did it happen?
What was that about late reports?
Better than none. Late reports, better than none. Tornadoes, funnel clouds, wall clouds. Anything else that looks interesting? Hail, any size. Any hail at all. Because you know we're watching the storm. We had a report of peas over there. Well, why do you want to report peas? Because now we're looking at the storm.
Is it still severe?
Here's the structure. Now the structure has improved.
It'll be
Now I get a report of dimes. Now the structure has improved, and I get a report of nickels. Now the structure has improved. Go ahead and issue the warning, because somebody's going to call me with quarters. See what I mean?
It also gives you an indication of how severe the storm could
Yeah.
be.
40 mile an hour. Why do I have to call it 40? Because 40, 50.
60.
Go ahead and issue the warning. Somebody's going to call in 60. You're helping me get these warnings out. And I could put in the warning, trained weather spotters reported. This, that, or the other thing. It's not just Doppler radar indicated. And when people hear that, they say, what? Trained weather spotters reported. All right, you got it. No marbles. No marbles. Forget the marbles. P, dime, penny, nickel, quarter, half a dollar. Nobody knows what a half a dollar is either.
Yeah.
I was talking to middle school. I went up to Crosby, before the Skywarn talk and talked to the school kids, and I said, you know, like $50, and they looked at me like, a what? A what? Who
Well,
knows?
that's why a lot of reports indicate like ping pong size hail.
Ping pong ball, yeah. Hen egg. Here's your spotter location. Again, forward flank downdraft. Here's my updraft. Here's my rear flank downdraft. Up, down, up, down. Don't
That's
be over
me.
here.
That's me.
Can't.
Every time.
Are you the one with the Skywarn symbol or the red line slashing
Red
out?
line
The
slashing
red line
out.
slashing out, right. Here we go, down here.
Is rotation always counterclockwise?
No. Well,
Yeah.
in the thunderstorm, yes. A tornado, no. But going against the rotation of the Earth. The Coriolis effect, if you've heard of the Coriolis effect, causes things in the northern hemisphere to go to the right. That's why air flows opposite the clock, counterclockwise around low pressure in the northern hemisphere. Clockwise around high pressure in the northern hemisphere. It's the opposite south of the equator. Clockwise around the low, counterclockwise around the high. A tornado is a low pressure system on a very, very small micro scale. So it should go opposite the clock. But sometimes they spin the wrong way.
If you're close enough to see that, you're probably too close.
Yeah.
Get video of it though, if you're close enough to get that, because
Safely.
it's not a
Safely.
common thing to. And here, here's our drawing, right? Got that in your mind. Here is the radar, how the radar sees that.
But not every time you'll see a hook echo of a tornado.
Absolutely not. You're right.
Sometimes even looking at the velocity, you're like, how did they issue a tornado?
Friday night, the one report, tornado.
Yeah.
Look at the storm relative motion.
Yeah.
No
Looked
indication.
at that and super velocity. I was like,
No indication.
what?
Right.
Where?
Again, zoomed in. We're going to get high returns with the tornado if it's close enough to the radar, because remember I told you little bitty raindrops return a little bit of energy and big hailstones return a whole bunch of energy? Pieces of wood flying through the air.
Debris ball.
I'm going to get high returns right where the tornado is. Forward flank, downdraft, updraft, rear flank, backside, downdraft, sinking air, clouds are destroyed, brightening of the sky way on the backside. You may see this right before you see the funnel or the tornado. You're looking at this thunderstorm and you're saying, it'll start from the bottom up. You say, wow, look at this brightening of the sky back here. Boy, you better be looking for a tornado. I'm not saying there's going to be one, but that would be the next step. Okay? All right. Let's try and bring it all together on one or two of these. Just, I think I showed you this one before, but just for lightning, just so you know, be careful out there. Hill Street Blues, you remember that?
Yeah.
Be careful out there, or what did the sergeant say? Lightning struck, look at the dirt. Kicked in the dirt there.
There's a pucker factor.
I've seen that at our lake cabin in Minnesota. Ocean.
That or
I'm gonna drop it and drop it.
Drop the camera too.
My job here is done, he says.
It may not be the person with the umbrella, could start to be the guy with the camera.
What do you see?
Clouds.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
You got that lightning, the clouds disappear like you were talking about.
Clouds.
I guess rain to the right.
No, they're not.
Looks like
One on this side is.
sinking air over here.
It's a downdraft.
Looks like pretty bright here. This, you know, way into the wall or up, but probably some updraft going on in here.
Yeah, there's some stuff hanging on there.
You know, I kind of got a bunch of fingers. Is
Yeah.
that rotating?
Hard to tell.
I'm not gonna get closer and look.
Come on, Rich.
Where's your dedication?
Party.
Thought you were the guy that was always on the backside.
What do you think? What do you think?
Yeah.
I'm seeing a little bit of dust there.
No, it looks like it.
No, a little more.
Definitely.
Is that dust? Is that spinning, or is that? Do you think the wind came down, hit the ground, and kicked up this dust, or what's going on?
Ooh, that looks like it's stretched.
Well, the shape
Just kicked it up.
of it makes me believe it's rotating.
I'd say it's something.
If you look real closely at these pieces, you'll see that they're rotating around.
Yeah.
That's a tornado. That was a tornado.
Yeah.
Not at first. Not at first.
Rich, drive up there, I'll cover you.
Well, if I go look at it, it would not be a tornado.
But you're not gonna look real close.
Ooh, look.
What kind of cloud?
No.
No.
Yeah, that's a show.
Maybe clear to the west.
If you look closely, I don't know if you can see, you kind of got,
Kind of sneaks right up on you too.
let me, we'll advance it here. You can kind of see this edge kind of moving up. So I think what's happening is as it's coming out, it's forcing air up on the front side to move up.
I remember we had one of those during 2011 when right as they were doing the diking for the flood, and one of those came through town.
Yeah.
And it was just sheer quiet until it hit, till it came over. And as little after it came over, it was just torrential downpour.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Just like in Burlington when that happened.
Fast forward, right?
Yeah, it's
It's
some rotation.
fast forward. I'm sorry, I keep getting in the way.
That's fine. It's in the rotation.
I got a mesocyclone, I got a supercell thunderstorm likely, looks like maybe not too much precipitation. I got some fingers, I got some fingers, I got some fingers, but
Sucking it in.
boy, it just can't seem to get its act together. Just can't seem to get its act together there. Again, fast forward. Are those clouds going that way? And are these clouds?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got directional shear.
Clouds way into the screen are going to the left. The clouds out this closer to us are kind of coming this way.
Mhm.
Yep, I think we got some direction shear going on there. It's fast forward, but it looked like some maybe we're moving faster than the others, so we might have some speed shear too. Oh, this is interesting.
Oh, here we go.
Hello.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Rapid City Police Department dash cam video.
Did they pick up the guy for littering?
Yeah.
$300 littering fine.
Yeah.
You don't want to be out nose either, because if it's any size, it can cut you in two.
Well,
the
it's
stuff
fun.
that's
They're fun
in
to
it could
do.
hurt you.
Yeah,
Big
yeah.
time.
Get plastered with sand or whatever.
Now, is that a dust devil or a gust NATO?
Yeah.
They determined dust devil.
Okay.
That sounds like they're asleep.
I win.
It's fun. Jump, you high, jump?
Yep. Used to do it as kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the ones moving.
Looks like I got some sinking here, right? Rain, and then here, way into the wall, way into the screen. Looks like I got more rain over there. Look, this is an amazing shelf cloud. I mean, it just goes on forever. And then I got some fingers.
Yeah.
Any spin there of the fingers? I don't see any.
Did you ever see the video of the tornado they had in Japan a couple years ago? I think it was last year.
No.
Where it came up and it came. They had somebody else going in their car with their dash cam going, and you could see it getting windy, and it was kind of cloudy overhead and storming. But it literally, this tornado just came right out of the left side of the frame, hit these bunch of cars in front of it, and then just kept on going down. It actually ripped people right out of the car, left them laying on the road, and their car was like
No, I didn't.
200, 200 or 300 feet away. And like, holy!
I didn't see that. Inflow or outflow? It's like another shelf cloud. Inflow or outflow?
Inflow.
Yes. Here goes the tumbleweed. Comes another one.
Oh, shoot.
And as soon as that shelf cloud goes overhead, the tumbleweed's gonna come back and slap you.
Yeah.
They're coming back.
Tumbleweed invasion.
I always end up in my yard.
If you look here, I think there's a lot going on. If you look, I'll replay it. If you look here, I think this is rotating. If you look here, I think this is rotating. And then it looks like the whole thing around is rotating. And here's my tail.
Is that a tail cone?
Yes.
Yeah, it's starting to rotate.
Whoops. You tell me, is this a funnel cloud? Or is it a full-blown tornado?
Well,
Can't see the ground.
no.
It's not coming down very. It's not really coming down much. It is getting closer.
There it is.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
see that
yeah,
little?
yeah, a little bit of dust kick up.
No.
Reach drive out there, hang on.
No. It's so way up there, Mom.
Yep, right there.
No. Another one's way up there, though, so it can't be that
This is just wind. You cannot see wind until it touches the ground. Now you say, look at that dirt swirling underneath that thing. It's in contact with the ground.
one.
Well, like when it was behind that tree line,
No.
Yeah.
and you couldn't see the ground.
Yes.
It just hadn't picked up enough dirt yet
Report
to
that as a tornado.
create a full funnel yet.
So that's where you say, look, I see a funnel
Full
cloud.
tornado.
I cannot see the ground to tell you if it's on the ground or not.
No.
Bowman,
Oh, yeah.
south of Bowman.
rotation.
Much bigger than Newburgh.
Big down there is cows. Cows and junk ways like
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
This is wind.
Well, now you got
That's a tornado.
That's-
So it's rotating. You can see it rotating.
No.
Real estate changing hands and nobody got a commission.
If it was just wind, it wouldn't rotate like that.
Huh?
And this guy is way too close. And thanks for sharing the video, though.
Almost
He's on the correct side of it, though, right? Because it's
Yeah.
in front of him, and he's going with
As
it.
long as it doesn't shift its track.
He doesn't want to be a mile down the road, because
Yeah.
now it's coming toward him.
Don't want to be.
No guess it's gonna stay on
Soon
that
it
course.
looks like a tornado.
Right.
If it shifts its track back, and
Shame.
Yeah,
it
but
could.
it's touching though.
And
Not
then
often,
here's
but-
these walls, and then we'll check our website quick. Look at that. Look at the way that's going that way, and these clouds are coming this way.
Now you've got shear. Yeah. What is the number for reporting at Bismarck? To call in.
223 4582.
Okay.
Or let me give you another one in case that one's busy. 250 4495.
Thank you.
And while we're on that subject, if we are in a severe weather warning especially, and we all know how enthusiastic Jeff is about the weather anyway, if there's anything except bright sunshine outside, Jeff is paying attention.
Yeah.
And Jeff will usually, if there's severe weather imminent or even moderately imminent, around 2 meters.
Yep.
Okay.
Probably 9.7, unless it's west of here and he's using the link to talk to Stanley.
Yeah.
And
to hear you.
Jeff is also
It wasn't severe this morning.
Jeff's also on the NWS chat at the same time.
Yeah.
So if we have a Skywarn net going, Jeff is net control.
No.
And you can
That
report
wasn't
your
this morning.
link directly to Jeff.
I wasn't
And he'll
this
put it on
morning,
the
that was in the middle of
NWS
the
chat.
night.
Right to
Big up your
And if you're a friend of mine on
Yeah,
Facebook, you
next
can
Let
send me a
see,
photo
because I need to be,
of what you're looking at. So I have a better idea what you're looking at, and I can tell them.
223 4582.
Because when Dean's out spotting, he sends me everything.
Yeah, I could
250.
Even when I kind of would wish he doesn't. For
495.
he just sends me too much, I think.
just show you, let's see together here what's going on, kind of thing.
That's good advice.
Wow.
81 in
A
Bismarck.
warning. Is there any warnings? No, I don't think so.
There's a warning down in South Dakota,
Oh.
but none in North
Weren't we
Dakota.
supposed to have some nasties?
Yes.
That was the eastern part of the state.
South and east.
Yeah, but this should be, well, we said not till early evening. But this, yeah, you got some rain to your southwest here.
It's 8:30.
Let's
That'd be early
see
evening?
here. Yes.
It's really like to call the tree was the wind is from the right direction.
Here we go.
I always say to have better images of
Here
this.
they're developing in northwest South Dakota. Looks like they got a warning southwest of Buffalo there. Others near Sturgis.
Made there, no big.
Want to show you this now, Jeff. Did you notice these situation reports?
Yes.
Jeff, do you get those from me in an email?
No, I look at the,
Send me.
I have a program on the phone that actually has the IEM bot.
Yeah.
So it goes out to your standard page and has your area discussions, your hazardous weather outlooks.
Okay, you're getting all that then?
All that, you know.
Okay.
But now I don't get any actual emails from you guys.
I can add you to the list if you want.
Okay.
Give me your email. Here's these, severe storm threat tonight, time and greatest risk 7 p.m. to 1 a.m. Not yet going.
How often are those updated throughout the day? These outlook
Minimum
things?
once per shift,
Okay,
or when something changes.
okay.
Large hail up to 2 inches plus in diameter, damaging wind 70 miles an hour plus very heavy rain. Here's the greatest risk: Hettinger, Elgin, Bismarck, Carrington, Grand Forks, and south and east of there. Not much risk up here where you are of severe weather. Not saying you're not going to get a thunderstorm, but of severe weather. And then here's the message of the day: severe thunderstorms expected to develop near a cold front with the greatest risk not until the mid to late evening hours. Potential hazards include large hail, potentially greater than 2 inches in diameter, wind 70 miles an hour, very heavy rain. Timing of severe risk has been delayed until the evening, and the area of greatest risk has been refined. The tornado threat, that was a little higher than it is now, it's come down a little bit. Probably they released the balloon and saw something on there that brought the threat of tornadoes down. What's the impact? High impact for those who get it. And how's the confidence of the forecaster? Pretty high for confidence. Let's go to
I wonder if the airfield is closed.
under local programs here, text products. Look at the area forecast discussion and see if they updated that. 542. No major deviations from the previous thinking for tonight. We're still on track for scattered severe thunderstorms to develop this evening, roughly between 1 and 3 Zulu across south central North Dakota. The next forecast update will be for severe watch issuance, which SPC Storm Prediction Center indicated if issued would happen between 1 and 2 Z. That's 8 and 9 o'clock. So about now, if they're going to go with one.
Go to SPC and see if they have anything out for
Yes.
It's 125 now, or something close to
them.
that.
See if they have a mezzo discussion.
Remember we talked about the
Is there something there?
marginal slight. So it's kind of right where we have on that one map, right? The slight risk. This is marginal. General thunderstorms here, no thunderstorms there. You can click on the tornado, 2% tornado, wind, 15%, hail, same, 15%.
I think was it Friday?
You
Was
see
it
them
was
as-
it like 5 or 10% on the tornado threat for here?
Yeah, I think with the wind and hail were like 30.
Yeah,
so
it was-
that's
it was
high.
getting
In
high.
other words, yeah, here we go. Here's a mesoscale discussion. So here's our cold front. See, it's through Minot. That's what we don't think you're going to get, right? It's almost through Dickinson. It is through Dickinson, so probably not too much out there. But let's see what they say here. The area affected south central through southeast North Dakota, north central through northeast South Dakota concerning severe thunderstorm potential. Watch is likely. 80% chance they're going to issue a watch. Storms may develop across parts of central North Dakota. 1 to 2 Z supercells with large hail and damaging wind will be the initial threats, but a brief tornado may also be possible. With time, the storms are expected to evolve into a mesoscale convective system with damaging winds becoming the main threat. A weather watch will probably be needed this evening, most likely 1 to 2 Z. And then there's the discussion, if you wanted to read that. Talking about the Cape, that's how much energy is available in the atmosphere. 2,500 joules per kilogram is a good Cape. Unstable, talking about moderately unstable atmosphere. An inversion, a cap. A cap is where, if you ever see cap, it's where the temperature higher in the atmosphere is warm, so that any parcels rising up are still going to be colder than the air all around them. They're going to sink back down, right? So you're probably not going to get thunderstorms. But if we can break the cap, look out, look out. Let's just check real quick here for the next few days. I think we don't have too much. Here's the outlook for tomorrow. So the white is no thunderstorms. That's tomorrow's outlook. And then day 3, which would be what, Thursday?
Friday from now.
Well, today's day 1.
Oh,
Oh,
Thursday.
okay.
Tuesday is day 1, Wednesday is day 2. So Thursday, here we go. So marginal, almost to Minot, but you might be seeing storms out in northeast Montana on.
Looking out that far, you start looking at maybe being Thursday night, we might have something.
Yes, kind of the leftovers coming through. Day 4 to 8, predictability is too low to do anything with it. Thunderstorm outlook, there we go. Now this is not severe, this is just the thunderstorm outlook, highlighting the southeast part of North Dakota as the highest chance of thunderstorms. Anyway, so you can look at all those things on your own and educate. Let's look to see, we'll look at the Rapid City radar and we'll call it a night here.
Well, with the radar, if you're going to be out spotting, you really shouldn't just rely on NWS's radar. You should really invest in getting some of these radar programs for your phones.
Yeah.
Radar Scope or PLK3 radar is
I started
the
learning my way
two
around
good
radio,
ones.
so
Yeah.
I've actually played with it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you can split the screen if you get the additional program. You can split the screen, get your radar, and look at your velocity, so you can see if there's rotation or not.
Looks like another warning issued in
I was
northwest
playing with
South
that on
Dakota.
Friday.
And then if you want to go a higher route, there's computers, Windows software called GR Level 3. It's about $80 program. It's almost exactly what they have at the weather service. If you want to get the really high-end stuff like what Tom Schrader type of stuff uses, about $250. Made by the same company. It's called GR Level 2 Analysis Edition.
Because we. Yeah,
Yeah.
we did find something.
Here's the base reflectivity. Now pick one of these storms here. Pick one of these storms right here.
Are you on a rapid radar now?
Yep. And now let's look at the composite.
And that's all the tilt levels, right?
Composite is the highest return off any of the tilts. Yeah. So you can see it kind of blew up. It didn't really get more intense, I guess. But it did kind of.
Okay, the base is just low tilt.
The half degree, the lowest slice. Yep. And the composite is the highest return off of any of the tilts. So there's the development. I wonder, it looks like, maybe it'd be just for South Dakota. We'll just have to see how far it comes up into North Dakota for the watch if they issue one. I suspect they'll issue one for South Dakota. They got 3-4 warnings already down there. Here's where the reports go. You can do online too. Current hazards, submit a storm report right there. And here's the reports that we got. Remember I was talking about the heavy rain, 1.1 inches of rain at Portal, overnight rainfall, public reported, relayed by local media. Let's go back here and pick on one of these.
You can also go to your guys' Facebook page and do a report in there.
Yes.
I've done those.
Right. Yeah, the problem with that is
They're delayed.
we need to be careful with that because sometimes we're not watching Facebook as close as we.
Yeah, they're more delayed, but yeah.
So here's 5:30 p.m. May 31st. Thunderstorm wind gusts estimated at 70 miles an hour, 12 miles east-southeast of Leffer and Henniker County. Wind break torn down, holes in siding, and possible roof damage. Where was that? Henniker County. Leffer. Well, Leffer's in Stark County. Anyway, it was across the line. All right. Any questions for me?
Yes.
Yeah.
We used to, I know it always varies, and there's lots of things that affect these things all the time. We used to generally see a trend of southwest and northeast. They kind of march through it, and it seems like the last few years have been a dome over mine. I don't know, clouds or
I have no idea. Tom Schrader's
Could be.
Tom Schrader's been concerned about that one for a while too.
Kind of like a, where it's been-
Everything falls apart when it gets to us. And it shouldn't be this year because clousiers aren't seeding in Ward County anymore.
Yeah.
Because farmers got angry about it last year.
Well, yeah, I don't.
Of course, they're still seeding in Williston and Stanley, so.
I don't know.
I guess I kind of expect when I see it all around, at some point we're going to get some of it. And a lot of times, or sometimes, they're just not there.
Well, like last night, the storms were going really, really strong. And it's like they got to Ward County border just before Minot and everything just fell apart.
We've been
Right.
a lot drier than any place else.
And that might be
Yeah.
part of it.
Well, that's the thing. When you're dry,
Yeah.
You got
it's going to promote dry, and then you're wet, it's going to promote
And
wet.
that makes a lot of sense.
The thing with Ward County, I suspect if we looked at the instability or something, it's not Ward County, it's what's going on over Ward County, you know what I mean? It's the instability just isn't there, so, you know, it's
Yeah.
more stable atmosphere, so the storms moving in are gonna weaken it, you know, but,
According
Yeah, you know,
according to
it's-
my, not necessarily the best, but certainly the most expensive weather station. I had less than an inch of rain last month.
Yeah, I think, well,
Not a lot.
just
You know,
June
let me-
1st, only 7,900's a month.
let me share something with you. This was amazing to me. And it was about a week and a half ago. So I was you're familiar with Bismarck, Walmart, South Bismarck.
Yeah.
I was in the South Bismarck Walmart, and I was getting ready to come out. It started literally buckets
Yes.
of rain. Part of the parking lot, there's a little dip in the parking lot as it sends the water over to the drain, was flooded. That's right around the corner from the airport, right? As I left Walmart, 26th Street, they extended now. There's a cross street, it's a low spot, it was flooded. 6 inches. Over on Airport Road by Advanced Mechanical, right along the airport, I remember, the heating and plumbing. Flooded, I turned around, went the other way. I'm going by the airport, I get past United Tribes. All of a sudden, the highway goes from being wet to being dry.
Bone dry.
I get home and I live from that Walmart parking lot probably 3 miles as a crow flies. My rain gauge had not a drop of water in it.
Mm-hmm.
My colleague, so I went into work. That day I had Skywarn that night. Went in. I said that I had not a drop of rain. He said he lives out of town, north side of Bismarck. He said, I had not a drop. So within the city of Bismarck, you went from nothing up on the north end and nothing on the south end to, I don't know how much, you know, I'd never rained. But the office had 1100s. Not much, 0.11.
But just at Walmart,
It's-
you were flooded.
It was,
parking lot.
you couldn't see, I don't know how familiar, you
Did
couldn't see.
did they have any like localized rain gauges in that area that pick up a whole bunch? Okay.
You could not see Taco Bell at the edge of the
Oh.
Walmart down the other side of the parking lot from Taco Bell. You could not see the building. That's how hard it was raining. And 3 miles away, there was not a drop. That's the way it works.
Yeah.
It has to be raining somewhere and not raining somewhere else. You know. But that, to me, I mean, I know that happens, but on that scale was a real wake-up.
Well, that's what happened a day or two before Memorial Day. We got torrential downpour and what sounded like on our awnings like very
Yeah.
small pea-sized hail.
Yeah.
And my rain gauge read like 12/100 of an inch.
Yeah.
And Rick looked at it, he said his weather gauge got nothing. And I'm like, I know I looked at the radar, I know it went over your house.
Yeah.
But see, I may not have the best weather station, but it's certainly the most expensive.
Yeah. I got a cheapo $100 one here.
I suspect it's pretty
Brand
darn
new this year.
good.
The only problem, my cheapo $100 one is the barometric pressure sensor that they put in the display and it's broke.
we'll just leave that.
Oh, well, you can get a barometer anyway.
Well, it says on the Weather Underground app,